Welcome to the Golden Age of Cardboard podcast, where we remember a time when stacks of cards were held together with rubber bands and Mickey Mantles were put in bike spokes. We hope you will enjoy and reminisce as you come along with us as we tell stories about the baseball cards from the Golden Age of Baseball. We will examine the state of the vintage baseball card market and talk to some of the greatest collectors in the hobby. You won't be hearing us talk about any chrome or shiny cards here. Now, to take you on this retrospective journey, here's your host, direct from the shallow end of the gene pool, my son, Mike Moynihan.
Well, yo and hello. I am not Mike Moynihan on the Golden Age of Cardboard, but my name is Don. I'm with Don's Field of Dreams, and Mike graciously asked me to co-host with him. And who better to have on than my good friend and fellow misfit, George from Diamond Yard Sports Cards. How are you, George?
I'm doing great, Don. How are you? It's awesome to be here, and great to see you hosted here, guest hosting.
You know, when Mike first asked me, I thought he meant permanently, and I was like, oh, hell no. But so I did a little research before we got on here, and I've been on Mike's show by myself 8 times. You, my friend, have been on 9 times. And together, we have been on 5 times. This will be number 6. And that doesn't count the 3 Hobby Palooza shows that Mike holds that we've been on together. But when Mike asked me to co-host this or guest host it, who better to have than my partner in crime on here, George. So
thanks, Don. I think we should do what Koufax and Drysdale did and team up to try to get a better contract here and negotiate together.
Hopefully our results will be better.
True.
But so we wanted to do something a little different. So I saw a video on YouTube where Ted Williams, I believe George said it was around 94, picked it, in his opinion, the 20 greatest hitters. And so we're going to show cards of the 20 greatest hitters. There's a couple players that neither one of us have. And then when we get to the top 7, it's going to be basically the George show because I don't have those cards. But and George, we got to remember that this is a podcast too. So when I'm on Mike's shows, I kind of forget and I don't mention the cards. I just show them. So I can pretend like I have some of these cards for the podcast if they can't see it and just say, well, here it is. So you got anything to say before we jump into this?
Yeah, I was going to the list. We're going to start from 20 and go down, right?
Right. Yep.
Yeah, I did some research on this as well and watched the video on YouTube. And I guess the Ted Williams Hitters Museum used to be in a certain place, and it was moved to Tampa in 2005 in that ballpark there. I think I'm not sure if it's in the Major League ballpark or the spring training of the Yankees, but it was interesting to me just generally looking at the list, because it seemed to be people that were just prior to Ted Williams, like some dead ball era guys.
Right.
And then people that Ted Williams probably watched as a kid and idolized, then people who were contemporaries of his, and then people that he may have played with, but they were much younger. And the list kind of stops with the last hitter who came up in 1973 on the list. But it just seems like, there's a lot of people missing, but this is right in the golden age of cardboard wheelhouse. And you're not going to find, he didn't name any Negro League players. And I think he was operating just from the perspective of
there was really only, I believe, only one player, and you mentioned the year on here that was before him or he didn't play with. And for example, Tony Gwynn's not on the list. He's in the video that we took this from. And I originally told you that, yeah, he's on the list. But then when I went back and watched it, they just interviewed him. So that kind of surprised me. But like you mentioned to me the other night, this was kind of a big deal. They had a whole show with Bob Costas, being the host, and Stan Musial was there, and DiMaggio was there. And who else was there, George? I know there was a couple other guys.
Oh, Mays was there. Kiner was there. Mantle was there.
Yeah.
These are guys that obviously would be on his list, but and he said that he had some kind of, and it was a big deal. It was in 1994, and he had some magic like formula. This is before sabermetrics and all that.
Right.
And I came to the conclusion that his formula was generally on base percentage plus slugging percentage, so OPS. It's not exactly that, but this list seems to track OPS, and there's certain biases that he has of players that he played with and he was very fond of. But OPS seems to track at least the top few of them, and then all the guys on the list seem to be within that range for OPS all time,
Right.
up to that point in time. So we're not going to have any. We're also not going to have Sadahara O on the list. We're not going to have Barry Bonds, and you don't get into the steroid guys.
Albert Pujols, although in '94 he wasn't even around, but Pete
Yeah.
Rose,
Yeah.
Wade Boggs, and where was I going with this? And one obvious person he doesn't pick in the top 20 is himself. But
Yeah.
we'll go over some of his cards. So, if we have some cards of these players, we're going to show them. If we don't, we just don't have them. And duplicates we do, but again, just something a little different. I thought it was kind of cool to go over that list, and maybe when Mike posts this, maybe he can put the link to that actual video.
Yeah, it was enlightening, and I mean, I thought that I, knew a lot about Ted Williams, and he was a big part of my he's been a big part of my collecting life, and I had never really seen this, and it was just cool to see he's older, obviously. In 1994, he's in his mid-70s at least, and DiMaggio's coming out there, and Musial's out there, and all these legends. And Tony Gwynn was actually the only modern player that was invited to the ceremony. I found out nobody else.
Really?
That wasn't,
I'm surprised I didn't pick him. I really am, for how close he was, admired him, and I guess Tony would have been 10 or 11 years into his career, which seems like that would have been enough of a track record to see where this guy was going. But what's great about the video too, it's not just that they name the players at the show, they break away from it, and Ted explains why he thinks these guys were so great, or when he played against them or watched them. And it's, to me, I just thought it was fascinating, and that's why I wanted to do this.
Yeah, and these guys all got exactly what you're saying. All these guys all got plaques. And to see them, to see Mantle and Mays and these guys like little kids, like
it was the Hall of Fame ceremony almost when they were handing the plaques to him, like Babe Ruth's daughter. I mean, we're giving away some of the players here, but these aren't surprises. Like, if you didn't think these guys were on the list.
Yeah, it was like when E.F. Hutton talks, people listen.
Right.
It's funny too. I was thinking about this. I was literally walking to my parking garage for my job today, and I was thinking of this video, and I'm like, who else would have in today's world say, Albert Pujols is going to do his 20 greatest hitters of all time? You would think to yourself, that's a little presumptuous. Come on.
Yeah.
With Ted Williams, you're like, yeah, I can see it.
There's probably a handful of people,
Yeah.
Babe Ruth said it, maybe Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, Ted Williams.
Yeah, very few.
Yeah, and you go, okay, like, who are we to argue with Ted Williams?
And I don't think at the time anybody could argue that, he wasn't the greatest. Babe Ruth had died many, many years earlier, and I don't know if anybody could argue that there was a better all-around hitter than Ted Williams alive for God knows how long.
So let's get into players, because I'm afraid that you and I could make this 2 hours, and we're almost 10 minutes in, and we haven't shown a player yet.
Let's show some cards.
So number 20 on his list was Ralph Kiner. So I don't know if you have any cards of Ralph. I have a few here to show.
I'll start off. I don't have any cards of Ralph Kiner, believe it or not, or at least that are not easily accessible here. But this is something that's interesting, and I think you would like. This came across from a collection. It's a Forbes Field popcorn megaphone autographed by Ralph Kiner.
Wow, that's very cool.
And so this is you can see the signature there. I'm showing it.
His signature too.
Of this really kind of derelict looking pirate from probably the 60s. But
that's a good word to describe our team right now. But
yeah, it says on the back of it, "Beat 'em Bucks."
Yeah, and Ralph Kiner was just an amazing player. And the Pirates, Branch Rickey traded him to the Cubs. And he said, we came in last place with you. We can come in last place without you. And the Pirates were terrible then. Kind of like now. But he was just amazing. The home runs he hit his first 5 or 6 years, and he was a stud. He was married or dated a bunch of Hollywood movie stars. California, ended up becoming a New York Met announcer for years. But so I got to remember to say this for the podcast. I got his 53 Bowman.
Nice. Beautiful card.
I got his 50. I need my readers on here. His 52 Bowman. And again, I only collect his cards in pirate uniforms. I don't have Cubs, and I really don't want Indian cards for who up there. 53 Connor Tots.
Beautiful. What grade
I
is
remember
that?
I bought this like 3 years ago. I paid $75 for it, and I was just like, do I do it? Do I pull the trigger? I don't think so. And now it's like, I can't touch that card.
Thank God it's 53, and 53 is just so sought after.
Yeah. And this is one of my favorites here, the 1950 Bowman.
What a great set. We discussed this before. That's a 7. That's an SGC 7, isn't it?
Yeah.
That looks really nice.
It is. So that's a great card of Connor. So, it gets overshadowed a little bit by Clemente and Stargell and maybe even Honus Wagner, but Connor's right up there as one of the greatest Pirates of all time.
7 consecutive home run titles from the time he was a rookie.
That's what it was. I knew there was something.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine like a guy in today's world of like prospecting. Imagine a guy comes up and leads the National League in home runs 7 consecutive years. Geez, you'd be like, man, this guy's going to be better than Mike Trout. No doubt.
Blowing Ohtani's contract out of the water.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So do we want to alternate players, or you can announce the next one?
Sure. The next one is the most modern player on his list. And again, this was in 1994. And so he chose as number 19, among, if not the greatest third baseman of all time, no question in the top like 2 or 3, Michael Jack Schmidt. Shout out to the guys in Philly, Ray from Philly and Mike O. But Michael Jack Schmidt, yeah, I got some cards from him, and I did not disagree with this at all because, like Kiner, Mike Schmidt, I believe, has as many home run titles as Babe Ruth, and 3 MVPs, so he's just fantastic. Don, actually, what do you have from Mike Schmidt?
To save time, because I'm afraid we're going to run way over. I've got his 74 and his 77. I don't have his rookie. I'm not really going to talk about the grades because I don't care about that, especially for the people on that podcast. But they're nice cards. And George is showing, okay, I'm a hypocrite. I was just those big guns as a 7 SGC on the 74, and George pulls an 8.5 to top me. So,
well, no, it's just I'm just what I chose.
But I like this card, as I do most second-year cards, way better than the rookie.
Yeah, and for me,
without the stash going on there,
it's one of the rare cards without his mustache. I'm showing this one right now. It's 74 Topps Schmidt, it's really interesting. These cards, 74. So there's a lot of the background of like spring training.
Yeah,
and it's really just I love the reds on it. There's a lot of like bold red colors. It's really cool. I picked out. Here's a Slurpee coin. Back in the day, if you can see, that was cool. And then he got some high grade like 80s cards. This is back-to-back MVPs. He won the MVP in 1981. This is a PSA 10, and then he won the MVP in 1980. And I really like.
I would click on you to make you if I knew how.
Sure. Well,
you know do that. Yeah, heck with it.
Heck, well, yeah, we could just blow it. Yeah, so this is a 1980 Schmidt in a 10, and I just always love the All-Star logo. I know I talk about that often on this, but 80 set to me is just really killer set. But I mean, we grew up with Schmidt, and he was always just every year he's the third baseman in the National League All-Star game.
Honestly, I wasn't a fan because I'm Pittsburgh and I was a Pirates guy in the 70s, and he hit his 500th home run in Three River Stadium, but as I'm older and looking back, so much respect, how he's right up there.
Yeah, and he wasn't just doing this he won the MVP, I believe. Last time he won it was like in 89, 87 or 89. But anyway, I think he won the MVP when the Phillies were in last place.
I'll take your word for that. I don't know. All right. At number 18, another, in my opinion, very underrated guy in the hobby and Major League Baseball is Frank Robinson. So Ted would have only played in the late 50s against him. And he might not have even played against him, except maybe, boy, I don't even know when Frank made his first All-Star game, but Frank was with Cincinnati at the time in the National League. So possibly didn't even play against him. But
I know. I think that 58 All-Star set had a Topps All-Star set had a Frank Robinson All-Star.
Okay. So maybe
I am not looking at the Baseball Reference or anything right now, but I imagine if he played against Robinson, it would have been in the All-Star game, not in the regular season. But
maybe spring training, that. So I have bring out his rookie, the 1957.
Beautiful card.
For a long time, this card was underrated, but I think it's gained some traction in the last couple of years.
And along those lines, I was bidding on two of them the other day, and I was looking at VCP, and in general, they're going up. A lot of other stuff going down. The Frank Robinson rookie is going up.
And the next two cards are two of my favorite. And the next one may be my very favorite card of Frank Robinson's, and that's the 1959. Sometimes just cards, you can't even explain it. They just, you look at and go, I love that card. Maybe because it's fielding and it's so rare to see some of these all-time greats in a fielding pose. They're always batting. And then like the 1965 as well.
Yeah, those are two great sets, and I agree with you. That 59, I have an Aaron in 59 I'm going to show, the circle.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're looking through like the knot hole or whatever, like the knot hole. This is a Frank Robinson I chose.
That's a great one too, the 64.
Yeah, this is a card that's been in my collection since I was probably about like 9 or 10. I bought it at the card shop and I got it slabbed. I didn't care what grade it got. I knew it was going to get a low grade. I used to actually draw this picture of Frank Robinson like on my notebooks, and people are like, "Who's that guy?" I'm like, "Frank Robinson," and they're like, "Who's that?" And I'm like, "We're not going to be friends." Anyway, and this is the last one I got. I got this reholder. This is one of the first higher grade vintage cards I ever bought, and it was a PSA 860 Frank Robinson. And my father-in-law has a story about how he was a Phillies fan, and he was so elated when Frank Robinson got traded away from the Phillies or away from the Reds to the American League, so that the poor Phillies didn't have to get abused by him all the time.
And I think Frank's one of those players that just has so many great cards. There's some guys that some of their cards are okay, some are great, some aren't that great. There's so many of his cards I love. So the next guy, I believe neither one of us has the cards. I know I definitely don't. But this was kind of a surprise guy to the both of us. Number 17 was Harry Heilmann.
Yeah, I did some research on Heilmann, and I don't have. If I have any, they're like 61 Fleer, 60 Fleer, greats of the game.
Right.
But what I found out, and I'm sure you did too. Did you research Harry Heilmann a little bit?
I don't do research for any of these videos.
I mean, when he retired, I guess he was just really prolific and won 4 batting titles and among like 6 guys to win 4 batting titles in the American League, along with guys like along with guys like Rod Carew, Ty Cobb. But he was like, I guess they say he hit the ball the hardest of anybody in his time except for Babe Ruth. But he was slow, like really slow.
Okay.
And so his nickname was Slug, I guess, for the fact that he was slow and he could slug.
Right. Pretty cool.
But Harry Heilmann, I think is, the more I look into it, the more I think he's probably pretty underrated, considering if Ted Williams thought highly of him, maybe we all should re-examine him a little bit.
Wonder, yeah. And again, I haven't looked at any of his cards on eBay or VCP, but I wonder if those are cards that pretty reasonable, maybe, because other people don't realize how good he was.
That's true. Seems like, again, I'm not an expert on Harry Heilmann cards, but I am. He wasn't in. He was kind of in that spot where there weren't a whole lot of cards of him.
Right. Okay.
He didn't play in 33. His last year was 32, and he retired because he apparently got a bum wrist, an arthritic wrist, and he retired at 37 after sitting out a season. But he couldn't couldn't do anything anymore. And I guess, modern science would have been helpful to that. But according to Baseball Reference here, I mean, he was in the top 15 MVP voting on 7 occasions and in the top 10 on 5 occasions, if that tells you how prolific he was.
Okay, we got to move on to the next guy. We'll never get through all these, but I'm a little surprised the next guy on the list at number 15 was Johnny Mize. If I hadn't seen his video and you said pick the 20 guys, Howman and Mize would not have been on there. So I've got 52 tops, Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
And that's 52 Bowman.
51 Bowman.
No, that's 52.
Is it 52? Okay, yeah, sorry.
That's all right. I read the top. That's how I knew. So I don't mean to. Do you have any Johnny Mize cards?
Again, I don't have any like around that I've really like pulled out or anything.
Blow over him for the sake of time.
What's that?
Well, we're gonna blow past him then for the sake of time.
I know that Mize had. I had a 52, but I mean, just another amazing hitter, high on base percentage. And, obviously Williams thought a lot of him. And we skipped over Mel Ott, too. I think Mel Ott was number 16.
Oh, my, we did.
And,
yes.
We're on another situation here where I had Mel Otts in the past. I recently had a 33 Gaudy consignment, and I thought about keeping the green Ott, the one that's the portrait. That's gotten a lot of traction lately, really. But I don't
know, George, because there is a whole another side of this. Just here's the podcast. We're going to just say we have all these cards. But the YouTube people, they already know. The podcast people might not know. They're like, wow, they're really showing. They have all these guys showing some great cards that we don't have.
But yeah, Master Melvin, another contemporary of well, no, he was ending his career.
Well, I'm surprised you don't have his card. I know you said you had it, but with how great your collection is, that's not one of the guys I thought you wouldn't have. So I'm bummed about this next one because I looked everywhere for this card and I can't find it. I cleaned up the card room and put it in a box. And number 14 is Al Simmons, and I have his 34 Diamond Stars card.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not graded. That's probably why I can't find it. It gets stuck in a box. But so I'm upset with myself that I can't find it. But Al Simmons, Philadelphia A's, I believe he's with the Chicago White Sox. Probably another underrated player.
Oh, I think so too. I mean, again, I'm looking at Baseball Reference MVP voting top 5 4 times, top like 11 like 7 times. Al Simmons. I had a 35 4-in-1 Mickey Cochran Al Simmons that I sold recently, but it paid me to sell it. It was a really nice card and a really colorful card. But yeah, Al Simmons. I mean, gosh, it's right during the time of Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig, and you think if it wasn't for Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig in the American League, maybe people would be talking more about Al Simmons.
Right.
He just put up like 165 RBIs one year, 152 years. It was just a really prolific hitter for both teams. He went to a couple different places, but obviously, and I was on the Philadelphia A's, which they were like one of the greatest teams, a dynasty, even amid the Yankees. The Yankees did not want to play them.
All right, so number 13 is Tris Speaker. Let's see what you got, George. I only have one card of his.
I've got a few cards here, but I'll tell you that the one card that I really would love to get by Speaker is the Cracker Jack. That's just, he's got the glove kind of in his back pocket.
Right.
Great card. I have some
of anybody?
What's that?
You have Cracker Jack cards of anyone?
I do not. I've been trying to pick up a few, but they're quite pricey.
Yeah.
Here's a couple strip cards. Here's a 1923. It's a W515 Tris Speaker, and just authentic. But this set's kind of comic bookish. It looks really a lot like the comic book drawings of the time and afterward, like the Walter Johnson. They all kind of comic book-ish. This is a more classic Speaker pose. This is a 1920 W516 where he's squatting down.
Oh, I like that.
Kind of when I think of Speaker, I think of this kind of this pose and the Cracker Jack pose. And what a great hitter. I mean, is the all-time leader in doubles, I believe. Again, this you can't argue, and with Tris Speaker being in this group, and frankly, it could even be higher. This is kind of a rare one. This is the last one I have. It's a W520 1920 Tris Speaker, and it's just authentic, but there aren't too many of these graded. I mean,
Cool. I like that.
yeah, I think there's probably only about 2 or 3 or 4 of these that are slabbed by PSA in any grade. And it's kind of funny too. Last thing on the back of it, somebody wrote W520 circa 1920.
Right on the card.
Yeah, right on. Just so you know. But these strip cards are really neat. But this was,
that was before grading, so you didn't know? Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
So here's my one. I have the 1914 Polo Grounds
Oh wow.
playing card. It's got the actual Polo Grounds in the back.
Oh, that's neat. That's really neat. And I mean, is that your oldest card in your collection?
No, my oldest is a T205 Christy Mathewson. So, I love pre-war. I just don't have many of them, and I'm not very knowledgeable about it. I try watching some of these other guys that know a lot, and you just mentioned W something 560. The caramel card, the England card. That's just beyond me.
Well, actually, this is an interesting segue. I'm just going to say about this real quick. These strip cards, I started buying these because I didn't want to go down the rabbit hole of T206s.
Uh-huh.
So I started buying these strip cards because they were a lot cheaper. You could even get into a Ruth. There's a Cobb here I bought for $100 and got it slabbed. Now, they've gone up a lot. They're not as expensive as the T206 is, but they're also not cheap.
Right.
There was a time though, about 5 to 6 years ago, you could pick these up and people would be selling them, and you knew they were going to pretty much get slabbed as authentic, but they're really colorful. They don't have any stats on the back, and they were really like pushed aside, by a lot of collectors and ignored for a long time. And that's frankly why I got into them, because the T206 stuff was really pricey. Right. At that time, I thought it was. Now,
yep,
obviously a lot more pricey.
I like 2 of them. The first one you showed, I'm not a big fan of the cards where it looks like they're wearing lipstick, but each his own.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of cards where they don't really look like the player that they're portraying to be. It's just a generic picture.
Right. All right, brother, we got to move on.
We're gonna be okay.
Yeah, we'll be fine. So number 12, I honestly thought this guy was rated a little low until I went back and looked at the list of the people ahead of him, and I'm like, I don't see who I would bump. And that's Mickey Mantle, number 12.
I agree with your sentiments completely. I think you think, wow, Mickey Mantle's 12, but yeah, he's, could be, who are you going to bump on this list?
Right. No one.
And Mantle, he's the greatest switch hitter of all time. So I don't know what you have. I'll just start showing some cards.
Yeah, I thought Eddie Murray was.
Maybe. No. Here's a 63 SGC 6.
Nice.
This is from a collection that I consigned. I actually kept this one. This is from the childhood owner of this collection. It was a really nice 6, and
I love the blue and green on that. It just,
yeah, it's neat. And I had the Dover reprints book when I was a kid, and that was one of the cards in there. Here's the classic. You want to throw one up?
All right, I'll go with. I got the 66.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice copy.
66 tops.
Mm-hmm. Here's a 56 Mantle.
That's one of the ones I was going to show, so I'll throw mine up.
Yep. 3. You have a 3, and I have a 3.5.
And this 3 is beautiful. You won't be able to see it on here, but this corner has a little bit of spidering. But here, this thing looks so sweet.
Yeah, it is nice. It is nice.
Again, you for the podcasters on here, I built my own display cases, and when I sit them in there, I'm not right on top of it. I'm 3 feet away, and they just burst. They look great.
Yeah, here's a Mantle I bought. This is a 54 Bowman Mantle, and it's a PSA 4.5.
I would love to have that one.
Yeah, I love this card. The dealer thought it should grade a 6 in Long Beach. He subbed it to PSA on a Thursday. They got it back to him on a Saturday, Instead of a 6, it got a 4.5. He was pissed, and I said, "Hey, I'll buy that card."
I love buying cards off of pissed guys. They're just graded. They're like, "Oh, no, get it out."
Fine, I'll take it. And then
Do
this
you
last,
like the 53 or the 55, Bowman?
no, I have a 55 Bowman.
I mean, you might not have it in front of you. I was just in general.
No, I had it here. I just had it. It was a Beckett slab. I'll show this one while I look for it. Here's a card I picked up at the National. Shout out to Dave, Blue Jacket 66. It's a Red Heart SGC 4.5. It's a really nice one. Yeah, I thought this was a really nice copy. Really blue. There's a little baby wrinkle on the top, I think, and I think that's what makes it a 4.5. But like you said, from a distance, man, it looks nice.
Yeah.
So, I will continue to look for that mantle if I find it. But it was a Beckett mantle, and I bought it because it was a good deal. And sometimes Beckett slabs have good cards in them. You just got to look at the card.
I'll mention this set for every player that I can because I'm a big fan of the 64 top stand-up. And I don't think they get the love they deserve. We can show them. And,
great
so
set. Great photo.
And the backs are blank.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's some – I don't know if that was gum back there. I honestly, I don't know the history of these cards, but who cares? This is what I look at.
Well, sometimes PSA will put a piece of plastic in between the card and the –
Yeah, this one doesn't have that. This is a card.
Mm-hmm. Creates this kind of oil-looking thing, but there's nothing wrong with anything.
So you have any more mantles there in front of you?
This is a nicely centered low-grade mantle. It's a 61. I like this mantle. I like this set. This is a really nicely centered one. It just has a little crease in the upper corner that makes it a 4. But, finding a nice 61 card is tough because fish eyes and all kinds of stuff. But this was a really nice low-grade one. So I just decided, well, why not pick it up?
You have most of Mantle's run? I mean, I know you don't have the rookie. Or maybe you don't know that.
I've been looking for the 51 Bowman Mantle for a while. Obviously, the 52 is out of reach.
Or the 53?
53? Well, if James would have traded me his 53 at the National, it would be fine.
James. Can't rely on that guy for anything.
Elite Hunters.
Next on the list, what are we at? Number 11. Big shout out to Brian B. Roth and oh my gosh, Sean
Tiford.
Thank you. I apologize, Sean, if you watch this for that. This is their guy, and that's Hank Greenberg. Number 11. So I only have one card of his. So that's the play ball.
That set. You're going to see some play balls here in a little while, and man, what a set.
Last year was with the Pirates, and we started off with Ralph Kiner, and he was really influential in helping Ralph Kiner with his career. There's no cards that I know of him in a Pirates uniform. There's some photographs and things. But
was he was with the Indians, right? As well, I think.
I don't think so.
As a general manager?
Oh, maybe as a general manager. Yeah. He was, from what I've read, he was not a cool general manager. He was tough on the players.
Well, he probably had high expectations for them,
No, I mean more financially. Like I think Larry Goby and negotiating with those guys.
Gotcha. I have one Hank Greenberg here. I've had others in the past, different types, but this is from B. Roth. I told him I was looking for a Greenberg rookie, and he hooked me up with this one.
That's a beautiful. I love that card.
And it's an SGC 1.5.
Yeah.
But
tell the podcast audience what year that is.
1934 Gaudi, Hank Greenberg. And, it's got that marine green background. The centering's really good. There's a corner crease on the upper right-hand corner. But other than that, the green background is really what makes it for me. And it's really cool to me because you have this guy who's one of the greatest first basemen of all time. And at the bottom, it says Lou Gehrig says. Right. And you have another, you get two of the top 5 first basemen of all time right there.
Yeah, you got Lou Gehrig and Ted Williams saying he's one of the greatest ever.
Yeah. So big fan of that. Big fan of Hank Greenberg. Lost years to the war. Just, I think, highly respected in the hobby. And this card's gotten a lot of traction, too, lately because people are recognizing the importance of Greenberg.
It's just a beautiful card. All right, number 10. The Say Hey Kid, Willie Mays.
We'll go ahead.
All right. Well, let's see what I have
And you
here.
can't say no to this. You knew that you would have to put him on the list.
Absolutely. Man.
Willie Mays was on any list of all-time best arm, all-time best fielder, all-time best base runner.
Five-tool player.
Yeah, everything.
And you know, the closest I think that come to him is Ken Griffey Jr. I'm not saying that he was a better hitter than Barry Bonds. I'm talking about five-tool. Because I think Griffey was a better fielder than Bonds. And maybe a better arm. Questionable on the arm.
Yeah, when Trout was younger, he was kind of like this too.
Right.
When he used to steal a lot of bags.
So what do you have there, George?
Well, I'll do this one for you, Don. Since you love guys kneeling with bats, this is not 54 Bowman. But here's a Willie Mays 63 Fleer.
Just happened to be holding one of those. I was going to show that card. I'm like, George won't show this card. I'll pull it out.
Well, I was thinking about how you love guys kneeling with bats. And I'm like, this is one of the first higher grade cards I bought way back in the day. You know,
at PSA 8, I got an SGC 4.5, but that's hilarious, dude. That I was like, I'll pick something different.
I think your 4.5 is better centered than this 8, frankly.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. Got a little rounding on the corners, but that's all right.
What else do you got, Don, for the Say Hey Kid?
55 Bowman.
Wow, that's a great card.
This said, you know, I think a lot of us have said this has really grown on me. I'm a big fan of it now. 57.
I've been looking for a nice 57. I don't have the whole run of Mays, but I've been looking for a nice 57 for a while.
I'll give you this one for 10 grand.
Hey, that's only overpriced by about $9,000.
Right. $500.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I was going to keep showing as many of these as I can. And 64 top stand up.
I love the angle on that too, because you can tell his body, like it's almost like it's a higher angle, you know? Yeah. Like his legs are kind of shorter because they're showing the perspective there.
What I need to do, and I never have, you know, a lot of these cards, there's photos that these were taken from.
Mm-hmm.
That might be a project for me to do sometime. See if there's photos of those guys. So what else
I got two more mazes here. I got a 53. This is a 53.
That's a dream card that I want.
In a PSA 3.
Yeah.
Got this a long time ago. I got a reholder not that long ago, but just, you know, a cool card. It's a short print. I know the 52 tops has a lot of traction, but this card's pretty tough too. I mean,
yeah,
I'm not saying it's as valuable as a 52 because 52 has all this cachet, but it's a short print. It's a tough card.
It is a tough card. And that's what I was talking about with the 64 top stand-up. You can find the photo of that card.
Yeah. And they're hard to come by. I mean, good thing you put it together when you did. Last card I have is a Mays rookie. It's a PSA 2.5. And I wish I get light maybe a little bit. But anyway, this is a really nice copy. It's not, you know, it's a lower grade copy, but there's no rolling marks on it, no print marks. Its centering is good. So when it came up, this is probably like 5 years ago, I was like, I got to buy this now because I'm not going to find one that looks like this. It's a lower grade, probably.
George, what is the story behind that card? What is that a big tarp? I guess it is. I see in the bottom corner that looks like there's a rope.
Yeah, I've always thought it was a tarp there, and there's always
a tree or something. I was like, weird. I mean, I love the card, but
yeah, the card can look really washed out. But for me, and it's weird, the New York on his cap that's in orange has a lot to do with me with how good the card is. Like if it pops, you know, the colors pop.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, 51 Bowman. The two great rookie cards of two of the greatest players of all time. So
51.
51, my fault. Yeah.
All right. I'll let you slide. You have the card. You can call it whatever you want to call it.
Well, let's get to Henry.
All right. Go ahead. Hammer and Hank. Number 9.
Number 9, Hank Aaron. And you know, one thing Hank Aaron said about his relationship with Willie Mays is like it's like DiMaggio's relationship with Williams. You know, they're just intertwined. And you know, he always said, he's like, you know, Willie will admit it. I'm a better hitter than he is. And Ted Williams saw it that way too. And I agree with him. I think Hank Aaron's the most consistent hitter of all time. Here's one I got. It's a 60 Hank. He knows I'm going to show this.
I knew you were going to show that one.
60 Hank Aaron in an 8. Love the colors.
You how hard that is to get centered.
It's hard. There's no PSA 10s in this card. Not that we're talking grades, but so like in 8 genre, you're in like 200 or less cards of this card, and like there's like 4,000 of them graded. But anyway, what do you have from Henry?
One of my favorite cards is the 61. Again, goes back to I don't know, maybe I just don't like cards where they're batting. It's back to him throwing the ball. It's something unique. And I just pulled 3 of them. But again, the 55 Bowman.
Oh, beautiful.
Love that card.
And when you, by the way, when you look at that 61,
yeah,
you see how skinny he is. Like he's really looks kind of skinny.
Oh yeah, look at his face, like in the 76 tops, the end of his career.
Oh yeah, he's definitely.
Although George, you could probably say that about all of us.
Anyway.
The 57 is another one of my favorites, the reverse.
And
then, like I said, I was going to keep showing the set. So as long as they're on the list, I'm going to show it.
There it is.
Henry Aaron.
Man, but you ever see that video? There's a video of him hitting the ball up the middle, and it's from behind home plate, and you just see his wrist snap, and it's a high pitch, and he almost kills the pitcher. If you've never seen this video, he just hits it like 140 miles an hour right up the middle, and the pitcher's like, ah! And I mean, it's just a great picture of like, I never saw Hank Aaron play, but how strong his wrists were, and just like this line drive is like scary.
Yeah, and I don't talk about this a lot on my channel because I'm a Musial Clemente fan, but I love Hank Aaron too. He's probably my 3rd on my list, and just the crap he went through and how nice of a guy he seems like he is. And you take away all those home runs, he still had 3,000 hits.
Amazing.
That's unbelievable. He's known as, at the time, the all-time home run hitter.
And I'm with you totally, man. I'm going to show 2 more cards.
Yeah.
And this is no joke. These are cards I got when I was a kid. One I got when I was in 8th grade, and I graduated from 8th grade. And the other one I got in my local card shop when I was probably about 14 years old. And I said to myself, this 1959 card, I got this when I was 14 years old, the card shop, for like $24. And it was a lot of money at the time for me. But I said, I've never seen a card that looks this good that was a 1959 card. And it was a Hank Aaron, and I got it graded like in 2007, and it got an 8. And I was like, holy shit.
And you bought that as an 8th grader at a card shop?
I bought this when I was like in 6th grade, 7th grade-ish.
Right.
Yeah, but I was like, man, this is like really a
you have any idea what you paid for it?
Yeah, $24. Back, I was like, but it got great. And it
$24. You must have been rich.
Yeah, and I had to save up for like a month. I couldn't buy a Nintendo cartridge, man. I had to buy the Hank Aaron. And this is the last I'm going to show for Henry Aaron. This is my rookie card.
Oh shit! All right.
And this is a 6.
I'm not gonna let you show. Okay.
And I bought this. I got this from. Are you gonna do it? Double Henry Aaron's.
Double Henry's.
That's a beautiful card.
Well, so is yours, man.
No, this is just. I always thought to myself when I was growing up, this was like a dream card.
Oh, absolutely. When I got this card in the mail, I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I've done a video on this. This is one of my top 3 cards in my collection.
This
cards.
Yeah, this is in my Mount Rushmore of my collection as well. But anyway, that was great to have us both show that.
All right, we flexed a little bit there.
Joe Jackson.
Number 8.
All right, show your.
I don't have cards of this guy.
Show your Joe Jackson now.
Okay. There it is. Yeah. Shoot, the freaking movie my channel named it the movie is about Joe Jackson, but to get his cards, man, there's only a few of us that have those. So
yeah. What is it, Standard and Bar that Andrew Nuff Said Cards has? I think Dave has the card.
Or Mangini probably has one.
Yeah, I know what kills me, and this is a Joe Jackson story. What kills me is that about 4 years ago, I was looking, I told you about the strip cards being cheap.
Yeah.
And there's a Joe Jackson strip card, and it's a really cool looking like image. It's got a yellow background, And I said to myself, and it came up right before a Long Beach show that I was going to, and it was, I don't know, I think it was an SGC Authentic, but it looked like it was in really good condition, and you can actually just cut the corner off or cut where the lines are and probably get a grade. And it went for like $1,800, and I didn't buy it because I was saving for the show. And then now the card's $8,000 to $10,000 and untouchable. So Joe Jackson, though, on this list, I mean, you know.
So if you had a Hall of Fame vote and he was eligible, or do you think he should be eligible? Would you? Obviously,
if he's eligible, yes. If he's eligible, yeah, he's in.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think he should be eligible.
You know, if Rose is eligible, he's in. The all-time hit king, you know, Joe Jackson, one of the top, and Ted Williams has him as number 8. So I guess we got to get going here, and we should move
number 7, which is my guy. So if you don't watch my channel or know anything about me, I'm a huge Stan Musial fan. And this is another guy I thought Ted would have higher, not because I like him so much, but there's so many videos. First of all, they're contemporaries, and they had a ton of respect for each other. One, that they felt Stan felt Ted was the best hitter in the American League, and Ted felt Stan was the best hitter in the National League in those times. And there's plenty of videos of those guys talking on here. But again, who are you going to get rid of that's ahead of them? No one. And you know, I'm from Western Pennsylvania, and so is Stan, and I think that's part of my connection to him. And I'm Polish, and so was he, and just that's what I love. So I could show tons of stuff on him, but I'm curious to see what the guy that had the same amount of hits at home and the same amount of hits on the road.
Well, I don't want to show anything that you're going to show. Here's a modern card. This is a autographed Upper Deck Baseball Heroes 2005. The card's a PSA 10. Stan Musial autograph number 20.
Autographs look good then, because a few years later they were bad.
Yeah, little modern Stan. So why don't you show us your 58?
My 58.
You have a 58?
The All-Star card?
That's autographed? I thought you had a 58 All-Star autograph of Stan.
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No. I just picked some different things. I picked the 62.
Oh, yeah.
Exhibits card.
Beautiful.
I went with a couple of the Red Man.
That's a great set, man.
Yeah. And I really wanted the tab on the back. This is the 52.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have the 53 that I haven't had graded yet, but it has the tab.
So is the difference the color of the background?
Yeah.
Right up.
Same pose.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite card of his, and one of my favorite cards in my collection, I think a lot of people would agree. You know, Stan did not have a lot of cards, which sucks, because he didn't have all those Bowman cards. He didn't have the 56 tops, but the Red Heart. He didn't have many, but he had a great one.
That's awesome.
That's such a cool card.
Red Heart makes another appearance.
Yep. How about you, George? What do you have?
Here's a 49 Bowman in a 4.5. Nice blues.
I bought mine off of JT at the National.
Nice. Did you got it at the Atlantic City National?
I did.
Yeah. You remember when you got it? It was awesome. This is one of my better cards in my collection. Stan Musial rookie in a 6.5. Got this card years ago, like 2008 years ago. Then the market was low, and it still was an expensive card at the time, but it wasn't anywhere near what it is now.
That card would have been so much better. He's kneeling.
Yeah, I agree. But this card, at the time I got it, it was the only 6.5. I think now there's like 5 of them or something. But anyway, I was just happy to get this card when I did. I actually had a PSA 2 that I sold Rick at the National. That Lucky Duck. It was a nice card.
I know what card you're talking about. That was a nice card.
So let's move on to Ty Cobb.
Okay, this is where this becomes a George show, because I don't have any cards of the next 6 players. So we're going to let George take over.
Oh, I'm not a huge Ty Cobb guy, but here are some of the strip cards, but they're really nice. I bought this for like $100 and got it graded, and it's a 1926 Ty Cobb. He was a manager at the time, Now I know you don't like the guys.
Yeah,
Who
I don't love that card.
You don't love that card, but it does look like Ty Cobb. I mean, he's got a very maniacal look, and
I'm not saying if the price is right, and I have no Ty Cobbs that I wouldn't buy it, but
the background too is really like black cherry. It's a really nice copy. But anyway,
going through lipstick on the dude.
Yeah, I'm not convincing you, am I?
No,
I'm not. All right, here's one you'll like. Here's another strip card, 1920 W516.
Yeah,
this is Cobb Fielding, and it really looks like Cobb. This is a really good copy, I feel.
It reminds me of the Cracker Jack cards.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's authentic because they don't like to give grades to these. They're a little bit short. They won't give them grades.
Right.
But I picked this up last December, and they just don't come up very often. Population's pretty low. And then last Cobb card. I got to do a video on this, so maybe my video will come out before this comes out. But this I picked up in Anaheim. It's a T206 red Cobb, a 2.5. It was an old grade SGC green flip, and then I traded, make a trade with a guy, and then I got it reholdered. But it was just really nice looking.
You have the green background?
What's that?
You have the green one?
No, this is the only one I have.
Okay. That's beautiful. That's a great looking 2.5.
Yeah, I thought so too. That's why I said I did what I could do to get this card off this guy, and I just traded him like 3 items and some cash. But the items I traded him were not rare. This is not rare either, but I just wanted to find a good copy. So
yeah.
I don't see, Ted Williams, Ty Cobb. I mean, he had to be on the list. So we got to keep going, I guess. Number 5.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you run with it, brother.
I don't want this to be like me showing.
I mean, I'll chime in, but
okay. So Joe DiMaggio. Joe DiMaggio is one of my favorites. I've been trying to buy the Gaudi Joe DiMaggio. Here's a Leaf, 48 Leaf Joe DiMaggio in a 4. It's really green and really pretty well centered. I just think this card is awesome, and the set's awesome, frankly. And along with Ted Williams, this, and I'm just going to show Ted Williams with this. These, to me, are 2 of the most beautiful cards in the hobby.
That's the play ball.
Play ball Ted Williams.
No,
in a 4, and there's the Joe DiMaggio in a 4.
Yeah, the one where he's batting.
Yeah, so I mean, these to me, like,
if I only get one, that's probably the one I'd go after.
Well, I'll tell you this card, this Williams card of 41 play ball is super undervalued still. Yeah. It really is. You can get into a nice copy, like a 1 to a 2, and it is just a great card. It's so beautiful. I think it's his most beautiful card, frankly. But Joe DiMaggio's who we're talking about, and I mean, this like midnight blue Joe DiMaggio. I'm gonna show you one more card. It's a 40 play ball, and it's great, but it's not as striking as the 41. Anyway, Joe DiMaggio, last card I'm going to show is a 5.5 of a 40 play ball DiMaggio. Yep. This is the only 5.5 that's out there, actually, by PSA.
The actual photograph of it.
Yeah, and it has a little pennant right there, like you have an all-star game thing, little pennant.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Or just
no, all the Yankees have it. It's kind of a cool thing. But anyway, it says 1939 pennant on it. And that's a 5.5. I actually bought this right when COVID happened, and I'm like, I got to buy this card now because it's going to go up probably. And
again, something new every time I go on with someone. That's cool. I didn't know about that things.
So next one is Rogers Hornsby. Do you have the Fleer card of Rogers Hornsby?
On my list, I want the 33 Gaudi where he's fielding.
Mm-hmm.
One where he's also like standing up against the fence, but I want the one where he's leaning down. There you go.
You talking about that one?
That is it.
No, I'm just. This is one of the first vintage old. This is the first pre-war card I bought when I got back into the hobby years ago. I got it reholdered, and it's a 4. I just thought this was such a cool card. I wanted it since I was a kid, and back then this card was like $200, maybe $160. It wasn't that much. It's not like the card's like $2,000 now or anything. But yeah, it's just a wonderful set, and so this is the only Hornsby other than I have. Other than this, I'll show you this. This is a autograph cut of Hornsby. It's a picture, and it's a picture from a magazine. It's like a thick picture, but it's autographed by Hornsby.
Oh, that's cool.
and I bought it years ago. Well, not years ago, maybe 3 years ago, something like that. I just thought to have Rogers Hornsby sign something that's a picture of him is kind of hard to find. But you know, he had to, like, this guy was obviously on the list big time.
Look at that was in bubble wrap. That's how special that is. You podcast people.
Well, the slab is bigger than normal, but anyway. So the next guy on the list is Jimmy Fox, which was strange to me. Not strange, but I mean, he's the number 3 hitter all time that Ted Williams has on the list.
Yep.
And this is the only Fox that I have. Mangini has a lot of Fox cards.
Right.
This is a 41 play ball. Again, love the play ball set. So many awesome stars in it. You showed the Greenberg. Here's the Fox, Williams, DiMaggio, Hubble's in it. You know, this is a great set. Dr. Beckett talks about how it's his favorite set, and I think it might be mine.
I'm with you. The Bobby Gore in that set is one of my favorite cards that I own. Just the art.
Oh yeah, all these great nicknames and stuff on them too, and the Art Deco. Like, you know, Scott Reindeer Studios, this 41 play ball Satchel Paige.
Yeah, that he made for you. I'm trying to see how do I do this? There's my Clemente Musial that he made for me that he made after he made yours.
Yeah, 41 play ball Satchel Paige, right there.
So what do you think of the Gowdy Fox where he's catching mask off? And
I don't know. A lot of people like it a lot.
One of my favorites of his.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan. Sounds bad. I like the card. I can't deny that the card is awesome, but at the same time, I'm just, it's not one I'm searching for right now.
Right.
If I'm Diamond Stars, I'm searching for Lefty Grove right now, which I believe I just screwed up tonight and got outbid on one that I was trying to buy. But anyway,
it's a nice one because you texted me a photo of it, so I know what you're talking about.
Well, my internet on my phone went down.
I'll bid for you.
Okay, so Lou Gehrig, do you have any of the Fleer Lou Gehrigs or anything like that?
Nope.
I have a few Lou Gehrigs. I'll show you. I'll just go straight to these. This is a 34 Gowdy Lou Gehrig.
Lou Gehrig says that Lou Gehrig is great.
Yeah, right. It's a PSA 3. I got this years ago, back when they were more reasonable. But this is the one I wanted, actually. This is the one I liked more. This is the 61 versus the yellow. But then over the years, I thought, man, I probably need to add a yellow.
Oh, card number 61.
Yeah, it's card number 61. And this is the other one in the set. But this is not 34 Gowdy. This is 34 Worldwide Gum.
I remember you getting that card.
Yeah, because the Canadian version. And frankly, this is far more rare. There's only like 35 of these graded total. Gehrig had one card in the Worldwide Gum set. Ruth had one card. But it looks just like the 34 Gowdy. So these two together are pretty cool. But I do not have the Gowdy of the 34. I don't have the yellow of the 34 Gowdy. But anyway, yeah, I mean, Lou Gehrig, he's number 2 on Ted Williams' list. I mean, that says a lot. Yeah. I know that, I don't know who's more productive in the time they had than Lou Gehrig. I mean, his RBI totals are just insane. His batting average is insane. So, I mean, the reason we have 3 and 4, I mean, he's number 4 because he was the number 4 hitter, right?
Right. Yep. That's how they did it back then. So I think most people know who number 1 is going to be, but
yeah, you have any issue with that?
With that?
You have any issue with number 1?
I do not, except for maybe the guy that made this list.
Yeah, on the OPS list, he's number 2.
Okay.
After Ruth at that time. So Ruth-wise, here's a Gowdy 4-1 Ruth in a 4.5. Bought this years ago. It's when he played for the Braves and has Rabbit Moranville on it and some guy Brandt in the bottom corner. Looks to me like Rudy Giuliani.
He does.
That is Rudy Giuliani. That is a spitting image. Anyway, so that Ruth is one that I'm really happy to have. This is a card I have on consignment, but it's the same picture. But I'll just show it. It's a 1.5 of the green Ruth It's a really nice copy. Not my card, on consignment, that I'm going to be moving hopefully soon. But for me, it's the same picture as the. I would rather have this card than the 4-1, frankly.
Yeah, I agree.
And then the last one I have here is the 33 Gaudi full body pose. And this was a good copy. The back has some glue on it, and so that's why it is 1. But it looks pretty good for a 1, and I bought it a long time ago when what I thought was a lot of money at that time, but things have changed a little bit. But yeah, I just don't think you can go wrong. I mean, Rick just did a video, Vintage Oddball Cards, of a beautiful York Caramels Ruth he picked up. I mean, can't go wrong. Jay Stottlemyre, he's got a great
Jay and Rick's bought one of Jay's former cards.
Mm-hmm.
So
Ted Williams cards.
Yeah, we got to show some Ted. I mean, he's the guy that made the list, and he didn't put himself on the list, so it's kind of surprising because he's a little bit arrogant.
Oh yeah, I mean, I imagine that he probably would have. I mean, he knows he's on the list, right? I mean, he knows.
I think so.
Other than Bonds, I mean, I think if you're talking about the greatest hitters of all time, all-around hitters, it's Williams and Ruth. And I mean, and Bonds can be in the conversation if you want him to be, but if it's not one of those 3 guys, I have no idea who it would be.
Right. So what did you pull out this year?
I'm waiting for you to show me some tabs.
All right.
You're showing too many cards.
Well, I'll go with the 54 where he's got 2. The first one, the set, and the last one.
So what do you got there? You got a PSA 4.5 of the orange.
4.5 in the orange and 2.5 in the yellow. And the yellows actually looks nicer, except somewhere on here. See, that's when you know it's a good card, when you can't find where the crease is, but you know there's one on here.
Yeah, if you say to yourself, why is that a 2.5 or whatever?
I know I've seen it before. There it is. So it took me a while to find it. There's a slight crease going here, but that's the beauty of buying that card in that grade, because if it takes you frickin' a minute to find the crease.
Oh, yeah.
And I personally like the yellow one better than the orange. I like them both, obviously, but if I could only have one, I'd probably go with it.
Yeah, and he bookends the set, first card, and I think 250. Beautiful cards.
Yeah, you nailed it. What do you have?
I'm a big Ted Williams guy. Here's the 54 Bowman in a 3. Yeah, it's a nice one. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's a 3. But man, I liked it. The color was good. It's just the rounded corners that make it a 3, and it's a short print. I believe who they put, was it Bobby Dorr or Johnny Pesky that they replaced him with?
There's a guy that used to host this show that liked that card so much he bought it in SGC. And he's a PSA.
Yeah, he broke down.
He did.
I'm looking for my SGC stuff, but of this stuff, I don't have SGC stuff, but I wouldn't be averse to it. Here's a Burke Ross, 52 Burke Ross, in a 4.5. This card wasn't expensive a long time ago. Burke Ross was kind of poo-pooed by the collecting community for a long, long time. And then people realized, man, there's not a Ted Williams 52 card.
Right.
This is the only one. So it's really nice with the blue background, the blue and the red. And anyway, do you have any more, Don?
Yeah, I got the 57.
I love that, man. He hit 388 that year, I think, and he won the batting title, and he was like 38 years old.
These years, man. 345, 356, 345, 407, 400, 318, 317, 343, 369, 343, 340. Oh my God, he never hit under 300, at least prior to this.
I guess that's why he's the author of the list.
Yeah. One of my favorite sets, 56.
That's a great one. Really nice.
Born 1918. And then I think you might be showing this card because you mentioned you have some of the older Bowmans, but I do have the 50, Ted.
Oh, that's nice. I do not. I have a 51 Bowman, but I do not have a 50 Bowman. Man, that's a great card.
Yeah. So that's the extent of my Ted collection.
Well, I got one more to show you, and it's probably one of my best cards in my collection. It's a 39 play ball Ted Williams in a 4.5. and I got this years ago at the Long Beach show, but I just couldn't. I saw the centering on this thing, and I'm like, I got to buy this now because somebody's going to come in and buy this card in like 30 minutes if I don't get on it. But anyway,
I don't typically like black and white cards, but that one's awesome.
Yeah, it's quite a card, and I think it's probably going to be
number 9 on the back. The follow through. It's just, and he's young.
Oh yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people don't like the black and white cards too. I get it, but this is the Ted Williams rookie. There's no alternative rookie that I know of. This is it. So anyway, yeah, that's a card that'll it's one I'll keep forever, I think.
So we went through the list. We included Ted. Who are some guys? Obviously, the guys he didn't seem like Trout. Didn't really see Pujols' career, but maybe that he would have seen that you thought, surprised you didn't pick that guy. Like, I have one glaring one.
Yeah, I did too, and I bet we have the same guy. He's a Pirate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, why is Honus Wagner not on the list? Oh, you put Clemente.
No, I picked Stargell.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm kidding. Clemente was my pick.
Okay. Yeah, because I was thinking in that era, like he didn't have Banks, he didn't have K-Line, he didn't have Clemente.
Didn't have Killebrew.
Yeah. And I guess when you look at that era, the only guys he picked out of that era were Aaron, Mays, and Mantle.
And again, you look at the top 20, it's like, who's he going to throw out? Like,
yeah,
pick 20 players.
I mean,
and he kind of, you know, he went with what he knew and what was his era in a little bit before, but
yeah, I know that like for Hank Greenberg, for example, I put on there that I saw that apparently he talked about hitting with Hank Greenberg the most of anybody in his entire life. He would talk with Hank Greenberg all the time about hitting, but I was surprised that he did not put in Honus Wagner. I was surprised Wagner was in there. Sisler, Hack Wilson, those were, but Wagner to me was like a glaring omission. I was pulling out, like, I don't have a Wagner. I'm pulling out like, you know, Hall of Fame greats cards and stuff like that. And then I'm like, wait a minute, Wagner's not on the list.
I thought he would have Wagner. I thought maybe Josh Gibson. And I thought for sure Tony Gwynn was on that list.
Yeah. I was surprised too. I mean, he even with Rod Carew, he was on Sports Illustrated cover in '77 when Carew was going after 400. You know, so he had relationships with these players of like Rose, Carew's generation and Gwynn's generation. But I think with this list, he kind of kept to what he knew. And I can't say that it's wrong. I mean, he's better than we do.
No. And who are you and I to argue with Ted Williams? I did the greatest.
Not.
And, but man, this was fun. You know, it was, like I said, I was just looking for something a little different. We weren't on here to talk about the same old thing. And I think that's what makes YouTube and podcasts everything great. You don't have to keep buying cards. There's always some story you can tell with the cards you have if you just do a little bit of research.
Yeah, and it was a great idea you had because, I mean, you know, it's for me or you to be the narrator or make a list, it's one thing. But for Ted Williams, for the Splendid Splinter to make a list, it's easy for us to follow it, and I don't think there's a whole lot of argument.
We didn't have to do much with it. So, Mike, appreciate you letting us two guys get on here. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks again, and keep collecting, and I hope everybody has a great holiday.
All right, take care, guys.